What's up, welcome back. I'm John Stark, TheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I'm taking a second look at here. Right here. This is here. This is what it looks like. It's a place, it's a chair. This is my room. And I decided to take a second look at it. I'm glad you joined me on this second look at here. This is a review of the Robert Zemeckis movie, of course. It stars Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, Paul Bettany, Kelly Riley. Really doesn't star anybody. Just it's kind of just like what do I want to call this film? I should have thought of that. I think it's vanity project is what I would say. This feels like a vanity project. This feels like I've seen it twice now. Once without audio description because I was given a ton of screeners for my consideration. And they didn't have audio description on them. And then now it's on Netflix with audio description. So I'm re-reviewing it because now I've heard the audio description track and the movie makes a little bit more sense. Or not at all. I'm just going to agree to disagree on this one and say I have no idea what this movie's trying to do or say. And most of how I understand this movie is from other people having talked about it. And the concept being that it's this basically the shot of the same space over the passage of time. Like it goes all the way back. But like so much stuff happens in the same space and you kind of wonder, I'm like, how broad is this space? Like there are full-on funerals that happen in this space. And I don't understand. Like it's a house. They show you, Native Americans before there was ever a house there and what was happening there. And then there's like Benjamin Franklin is in this. The audacity. And then they build this house. So it's like a really old, ancient, historic house from like the 1800s, basically, all the way up through till today. So it's this, God, you're living in some, like there should be a little sign outside your house that says historic manor. Ben Franklin was here, So, and Paul Bettany and Kelly Riley actually play the parents to Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. And we see them go through their stories, and then we see Tom Hanks like grow up. I guess I'm assuming they de-age them in this. I'm assuming they use de-aging process. But the fact that there's any narrative at all, that you can follow this at all, and there's like a family after them too, you shouldn't be able to follow anything because if you think about any area of your house and think about, do all of the conversations happen in this one area and all the things they're able to achieve? There's a funeral, the dad stays there for a little while. There's like so many different, they're hanging things people walk through. I guess there's a door to the outside so you can see people entering and exiting. And like, what is in this shot? There's so much that happens in this one shot that it loses the appeal to me because it feels like it's cheating, because it just feels like instead of actually trying to think about what would happen in this corner, you're trying to put interesting things in this corner to make more of a movie. And I kind of wish Robert Zemeckis had gone full on vanity on here and just made a film that was a little bit more like Richard Linklater's Boyhood. Take the time to show a real passage in time. Take time and show us moments where nothing's happening. Show us the cat, you know what I'm saying, and that found that corner of the room, or show us somebody walking past a window. Like we're not always in every single corner of the room, and families, when they move into homes, they use parts of the room, they shape it differently. They don't always, it's not going to remain the same focal point for every single family that's in that room. that lives in that house. So the fact that everything that goes through there and happens is, as it is, it just doesn't, it feels like what, but, and then there's always these notes about how, like, a box comes in around them. And I'm like, what does it mean? And I had such a hard time following this, even with audio description, that I'm just like, I don't know. But I don't like the fact that I can find narrative in this, that I can find the story, because it's, there should be less of it, you know? It should be less obvious. Um, and certainly explore more of the mundane. And I think that would have worked for here instead of the way that they're using it. Um, he wanted to do something cool as a director, but then I think he ended up making it very generic. He made an interesting movie the least interesting way possible. So that's what I can see. It feels like we're constantly leaving this room and we're just following other people, because that's how the conversations feel. These don't feel like conversations that would naturally happen all in this one space. So, uh, yeah, do with that as you will. But now I've seen this movie twice, and I didn't like it either time. Audio description did not improve the movie. If anything, it made it more confusing for me. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the swing. It's better than Zemeckis' last movie, that live action Pinocchio. So there's something. The acting is fine. I didn't hate any of the actors. But they're written so oddly and poorly that it's because they are trying to write characters here. They're not trying to write moments. So they are trying to get through narratives and clear storytelling. But we're jumping around in time and going through different families. And it's very odd. It's a very odd film. It's certainly one that this is a sort of, I'm going to group this in with two other films from this year that both were swings and misses, but are very interesting in misses. That's Joker and Megalopolis. Like, they're films that are boring, dull, and shitty, and don't do anything risky, and have nothing to say, and the directors aren't, you know what I'm saying? They're not trying anything new. They're just really just shitty movies. And those are the films that made my bottom of the year. Megalopolis and Joker, both, I kept them out because even though I don't think they're great movies, there's something very fascinating about watching them. And there's almost that quality with Here. It has basically the same quality where you're just watching and you're like, what is this? What are you trying to do? It's the kind of film that you could dissect and watch over and over and just, you're not watching a good movie. But I was more fascinated by the audacity of the other two movies, and I kind of that way about Here. Like, I watched it a second time and I didn't hate myself for it, and even though my initial grade was not positive, it was still what would be considered rotten on a tomato meter, just like the other two. I still wouldn't put it down there in the bottom. I think, the Razzies targeting those films they were just easy targets. I think they're incredibly interesting swings, just not good ones. So, yeah, I'm going to give Here, I gave it a C minus. I'm going to stick with that the first time around. The acting's a little bit better here than the other two movies, and that's kind of what elevates it. So, especially, I would say Robin Wright, if I had to pick a performance here. I know a lot of people were hoping she would finally get an Oscar nomination, and she kind of stands out. She has some really good moments. But they needed to feel more like moments and less like a narrative. Anyway, that's all. So, thanks for watching this, and I will see you guys on the other side.